So if you're just joining us, this is the big developing story that we have got for you. Something that has taken everyone by surprise. My colleague Jyotsna Kumar is still with us. Jyotsna, this changes the very narrative of what was to happen in the Caribbean. Now, the American president will, of course, pat himself on the back and say that he didn't start a war. He ended one very quickly by capturing Nicolas Maduro there.
Absolutely. And while we were expecting a reaction, what we were not expecting was a statement of Trump saying that Maduro has been captured with his wife and taken away. Of course, that was not something that one would ever expect after reactions from Venezuela. Well, I'm wondering what the Americans might be thinking. Well, some reactions waking up and knowing that a president of a country has been, lifted off from Venezuela. But of course, we'll have to wait and see and, how Venezuela reacts now. The defense ministry so far, what we know is that has reacted and they have said that Venezuela accuses U.S. of bombing residential areas. Now, of course, what we knew was that U.S. media had reported that they have attacked, and Trump itself had said that they have attacked Venezuela. But the defense ministry has said that Venezuela has accused U.S. of bombing residential areas. Now, that's a statement that's coming from there. But with no head, what happens? What we were thinking about, for instance, September was probably narcotics. What we were thinking was probably narcotics is an issue. We were talking about how if oil reserves were an issue, but considering the fact that now that Maduro has been lifted off from there, I'm guessing that it's the regime change now. I think it's announced pretty much well that it is a regime change. Who comes next? What happens to Maduro are the big questions, and how does it leave Venezuela, and not just there, as a nation, but of course relations with other nations. Talking about oil reserves, China being the biggest importer, and when we look at just things that has happened in the past 1 week, this has escalated. Trump said that they attacked the docking area used by alleged Venezuelan drug boats, indicating drug boats there. We had the petroleum minister, the second in command, Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, saying that they had shipped an oil ship to United States. Maduro, of course, saying that we can talk about and we can negotiate, but I guess all is in the past. Now we have Maduro no longer in Venezuela, according to Trump, and we'll have to wait and see what happens to him.
Also, Jyotsna, there is this one very interesting footage that's come from Caracas. I request our producers to put it back up on the screens there, where we see a number of helicopters flying over the Venezuelan skies. One assumes this is Caracas. We do not know. This is not something that is confirmed yet. But are these the helicopters that were used by the Americans to fly the Venezuelan president and his wife out once they were captured by the American forces? This is something that we expect the American military to come out and tell us a bit more information about this. But some very, very interesting images of these helicopters. One assumes, by looking at the number of helicopters and the manner in which they are being flown there, that this could, of course, be the American military operating over the skies over Caracas, where they have managed to capture the Venezuelan president. And to think of a president of a sovereign nation who's been captured by the forces of another nation in this manner, one needs to go fairly a long time back in history. And this is something extraordinary, something that very few people expected, because one of the statements that Nicolas Maduro had said over the course of these tensions that the Americans had with Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro had said that he rejects a slave's peace and he will never accept the American boot. And these are images of Nicolas Maduro from his earlier press briefings where he was meeting with the people there. But what has happened is quite extraordinary. We expect the American president to come out and make a statement about 11 a.m. local time in Mar-a-Lago in Florida, where Donald Trump is. And what is interesting is the time in Mar-a-Lago at this moment is roughly about 4:30 in the morning. That's the time, 4:49 in Florida. And Donald Trump is not asleep. He's, of course, watching these developments. And we expect more information by the Americans on how they managed to carry out this attack. But this clearly shows a massive intelligence operation when Trump had said a few months ago that he had authorized the CIA to go and operate on the ground. This is what the CIA had been told it was meant to do.